Chapter 1. The birthday that changed everything. Sam Richards had never been good at birthdays. Not his own, not anyone else's. But Renee's birthdays? Those were sacred. The park was alive with laughter, the kind that carried on crisp November air and tangled with the scent of pine from the bordering woods. Sam stood near the picnic table, adjusting the pink and gold balloons for the third time, because apparently 4-year-olds cared deeply about balloon symmetry. "Daddy, is Bella coming yet?" Renee's voice piped up behind him, sweet and impatient. Her curls bounced as she clutched a cupcake like it was a rare jewel. Sam crouched to her level, brushing a crumb from her cheek. "Bella? Who's Bella?" "The girl with the sparkly shoes." Renee twirled, nearly losing her cupcake to gravity. "She was on the swings." Sam smiled, though his chest tightened. He'd spent 2 years learning how to smile without feeling like a fraud. "Maybe she'll come say hi." He straightened, scanning the park. Families dotted the green space, bundled in coats, chasing kids who darted like sugar-fueled comets. And then he saw her, Emily Carter. It hit like a memory and a punch all at once. Same chestnut hair, though shorter now, tucked under a knit beanie. Same laugh. He heard it before he saw her face, bright and unguarded as she pushed a little girl on the swing. Sam froze. High school sweetheart. First kiss under the bleachers. Plans they'd scribbled in notebooks, dreams that had scattered like autumn leaves when life pulled them apart. She looked up. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that single glance. Then Emily's lips parted in surprise, and Sam felt something he hadn't felt in years. Something dangerously close to hope. "Sam Richards." Her voice carried across the playground, warm and incredulous. He swallowed hard, forcing his feet to move. "Emily Carter." She laughed, a sound that wrapped around him like a familiar song. "I can't believe it. What are you?" Her gaze flicked to Renee, who was now tugging at Rachel's sleeve like they'd been best friends since birth. "Oh my gosh. Is this your little girl?" "Yeah." Sam's voice softened. "Renee. She just turned 4 today." Emily's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, just enough for Sam to see the question in her eyes. The one everyone asked but never voiced. "Where's her mom?" He cleared his throat. "We're celebrating." Emily nodded slowly, then gestured to the girls, now giggling over a shared pile of sand toys. "Looks like we've got a party within a party." Sam chuckled, tension easing. "Who's your crew?" "Bella, she's 5 and Rachel 4. Emily's tone shifted, light but edged with something heavier. "It's just us these days." Sam didn't ask. He didn't need to. The way her jaw tightened told him enough. For the next hour, the birthday blurred into something unexpected. Emily stayed. The girls bonded like they'd been waiting their whole lives for this exact sandbox. Sam found himself laughing, really laughing, as Emily teased him about his balloon obsession and confessed she'd burned the last 3 batches of Christmas cookies. When the sun dipped low and the park lights flickered on, Emily glanced at her watch. "We should head out before Rachel stages a mutiny." Sam nodded, though the thought of her leaving felt oddly wrong. Emily hesitated, then smiled. "Hey, maybe we could grab coffee sometime? Let the girls have a playdate." Sam's heart thudded. Coffee. Playdate. Words that sounded simple but felt monumental. "Yeah," he said, voice steady despite the storm inside him. "I'd like that." As Emily walked away, her laughter trailing like a ribbon in the cold air, Sam stood rooted to the spot. Renee barreled into his legs, clutching a balloon. "Daddy," she said, eyes bright. "Rachel's my best friend now." Sam swallowed hard, staring after Emily. Maybe, just maybe, second chances were real. Chapter 2. Coffee and Complications. Sam Richards had never been more aware of the sound of his own heartbeat than he was standing in line at Brew and Bean, the cozy coffee shop tucked between a florist and a bookstore downtown. He'd told himself this was just coffee. Playdate for the girls. Nothing more. But the truth was, his palms were sweating like he was 17 again, waiting for Emily Carter to walk through the door. Renee tugged at his sleeve, her curls escaping the pink knit hat she insisted on wearing indoors. "Daddy, can Rachel sit by me?" "Sure, kiddo." Sam smiled, though his stomach was doing somersaults. "If Rachel wants to." The bell above the door jingled, and there she was, Emily, with Rachel in tow, cheeks flushed from the cold. Sam felt something shift in the air, like the universe had tilted just a fraction. "Hey," Emily said, her smile easy, her eyes bright. "Hope we're not late." "Not at all." Sam gestured to the corner booth he'd claimed, the one with the view of the snow-dusted street. "Got us the best spot in the house." Emily laughed softly as she slid into the booth, Rachel climbing in beside Renee like they'd been best friends for years instead of hours. The girls immediately launched into a debate about sprinkles versus whipped cream, their voices a cheerful hum in the background. Sam cleared his throat, suddenly aware of how much he wanted this to feel normal. "So, how've you been?" Emily's smile faltered just enough for him to notice. "Oh, busy. Kids keep me on my toes." She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup like it was a lifeline. "It's been a year." Sam nodded, waiting. He didn't want to pry, but the weight in her voice tugged at something deep inside him. Emily exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the steam curling from her cup. He left. Just left. One day he was here, the next he wasn't. A few months later, divorce papers showed up in the mail. Sam felt his jaw tighten. No explanation. None. Her laugh was brittle like glass under pressure. Not even a goodbye to the girls. Sam glanced at Renee and Rachel, now giggling over a shared cookie. His chest ached. "I'm sorry, Em." She shrugged, but her eyes shimmered with something raw. "We're okay. Better now, actually. I've learned how strong I can be." Sam admired that, more than he could say. He'd spent 2 years clawing his way out of grief, leaning on family, learning how to breathe again. And here she was, doing the same, carrying the weight of 2 little hearts without breaking. "You deserve better," he said quietly. Emily's gaze met his, and for a moment, the noise of the cafe faded. There was history in that look, years of what-ifs and almost tangled with something new and fragile. She smiled then, softer this time. "So do you." Sam swallowed hard, his throat thick. He wanted to tell her everything. The nights he'd sat in the dark, wondering if he'd ever feel whole again. The guilt that gnawed at him every time he imagined moving on. But instead, he said, "Renee's been talking about Rachel nonstop since the party." Emily laughed, the sound warm and real. "Rachel's the same. She told me she made a forever friend." Sam smiled, watching the girls press their heads together, whispering secrets like they'd invented friendship. "Looks like we're in trouble." "Big trouble," Emily agreed, her eyes dancing. They talked until the girls' cocoa turned cold and the snow outside thickened into a soft white curtain. About school choices, holiday plans, favorite Christmas movies. About nothing and everything. And for the first time in years, Sam felt something he hadn't dared to hope for: lightness. When they finally bundled up to leave, Emily hesitated at the door. "Sam." "Yeah, thanks. For today." Her smile was quiet, almost shy. "It was nice." Sam nodded, his heart thudding like a drum. It was. As he watched her walk away, Rachel's mittened hand tucked in Emily's, Sam felt the question rise like a tide he couldn't hold back. Could second chances really happen at Christmas? Chapter 3. Deck the halls, dodge the feelings. Sam Richards had never realized how much glitter could fit into one living room until Renee decided their Christmas decorations needed to sparkle like magic. He stood in the doorway, hands on his hips, surveying the chaos. Tinsel draped over the couch like a silver waterfall. A half-strung garland dangled from the curtain rod. And in the middle of it all, Renee sat cross-legged on the rug, humming Jingle Bells, while applying stickers to a paper snowflake. Sam smiled despite himself. "Kiddo, you know the tree isn't going to decorate itself, right?" Renee looked up, her curls bouncing. "Rachel's coming. She said she's really good at trees." Sam's chest tightened, not unpleasantly, but in that way that reminded him life was shifting under his feet. Rachel's coming meant Emily was coming. And Emily coming meant, he shook the thought away, focusing on the box of ornaments at his feet. This was about the kids, playdate, holiday fun, nothing more. The doorbell rang, and Renee shot up like a firework. "They're here." Sam barely had time to set down the garland before Renee flung the door open. Emily stood there, cheeks pink from the cold, a smile that made the room feel warmer. Rachel peeked out from behind her, clutching a stuffed reindeer. "Hope you're ready for reinforcements," Emily said, stepping inside. Sam grinned, trying to ignore the way his pulse jumped. "We need all the help we can get." Within minutes, the living room transformed into a whirlwind of laughter and tangled lights. Renee and Rachel took charge of ornament placement, which meant every branch below 3 feet was overloaded while the top remained bare. "Looks balanced," Emily said, biting back a laugh as she handed Sam another strand of lights. "Balanced if you're 4, Sam muttered, looping the cord around the tree. His fingers brushed Emily's as she passed him an ornament, and for a split second, the world narrowed to that touch: warm, familiar, electric. He pulled back too quickly, nearly knocking over the box. "Smooth, Richards. Real smooth." Emily didn't seem to notice, or maybe she did and chose not to comment. Instead, she crouched beside the girls, helping them untangle a ribbon while humming along to the Christmas playlist Sam had queued up. Watching her like this, laughing, patient, her hair catching the glow of the tree lights, Sam felt something stir deep inside him. Something he'd locked away for so long he almost didn't recognize it. Hope. He swallowed hard, focusing on the star in his hand. "So," he said, aiming for casual, "you guys ready for Christmas?" Emily glanced up, her smile softening. "As ready as we can be." "The girls are excited." "Me? I'm just trying to keep the magic alive." Sam nodded, understanding more than she knew. "Yeah, same here." For a moment, their eyes held, quiet, steady, full of things neither dared to say. Then Renee shrieked with delight as Rachel managed to hang an ornament without dropping it, and the spell broke. By the time the tree was finished, if you could call it that, the living room looked like a holiday explosion. Glitter on the rug, cookie crumbs on the coffee table. 2 giggling girls curled up under a blanket watching Frosty the Snowman. Emily stood beside Sam, surveying the chaos with a grin. It's perfect. Sam chuckled. Perfectly messy. Messy's good, Emily said softly. Means memories are being made. Sam glanced at her, the weight of her words settling in his chest. Memories. He'd spent so long clinging to old ones, afraid to make new ones, afraid that moving forward meant leaving his wife behind. But standing here, with Emily's laughter mingling with Renee's giggles, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was room for both. When Emily finally gathered Rachel's things and headed for the door, Sam felt an ache he hadn't expected. Thanks for today, she said, her voice warm, her eyes lingering on his. Anytime, Sam replied, meaning it more than he could admit. As the door closed behind her, Sam stood in the glow of the Christmas lights. Renee snuggled against his leg, whispering, Daddy, can Rachel come back tomorrow? Sam smiled, his heart full and uncertain all at once. We'll see, kiddo. But deep down, he already knew the answer. Chapter 4. The Christmas Tree Catastrophe. Sam Richards had never considered himself a perfectionist, until he found himself staring at a Christmas tree that looked like it had survived a minor explosion. The plan had been simple. Invite Emily and the girls over for a joint decorating session. Let the kids have fun, maybe share a laugh or two. What he hadn't accounted for was the sheer chaos that 3 preschoolers could unleash when armed with ornaments, candy canes, and an unlimited supply of enthusiasm. Daddy! The star fell again. Renee's voice rang out like a tiny alarm bell. Sam turned just in time to see the tree wobble precariously, the gold star sliding down the branches like a defeated climber. He lunged forward, catching it before it hit the floor. Got it, he said, holding the star aloft like a trophy. Emily laughed from across the room, where she was valiantly trying to keep Rachel from hanging 3 ornaments on the same branch. You're fast. I'll give you that. Sam grinned, though his pulse was still racing. Years of practice. You'd be amazed how many disasters a single dad can prevent in a day. Emily's smile softened, and for a moment, Sam felt that familiar tug in his chest, the one that had been growing stronger every time she walked into a room. Daddy, look! Renee held up a string of lights like a prize catch. Can we make it sparkle now? Sam crouched to her level, brushing a curl from her forehead. We will, kiddo. Just as soon as we make sure the tree doesn't fall over and crush the presents. Presents! Rachel squealed, abandoning her ornament mission to join Renee in a chorus of excited chatter. Emily shook her head, laughing as she crossed the room to help Sam steady the tree. You weren't kidding about chaos. Controlled chaos, Sam corrected, though the words sounded hollow as the tree tilted again. He grabbed the trunk, his hand brushing Emily's in the process. The contact was brief, accidental, but it sent a jolt through him all the same. He glanced up, meeting her eyes, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that single point of connection. Emily looked away first, her cheeks tinged pink. Maybe we should anchor it. Good idea, Sam said, his voice a little rougher than he intended. He busied himself with the stand, pretending the sudden warmth in his chest was just from exertion. By the time the tree was finally upright and secure, the girls had moved on to a new game, tossing tinsel like confetti. Sam groaned as a silver strand landed in his coffee mug. Festive, Emily teased, plucking it out with a grin. Sam chuckled, shaking his head. This is going to take weeks to clean up. Worth it, Emily said softly, watching the girls giggle under the glow of the lights. They're happy. That's what matters. Sam followed her gaze, his heart tightening. She was right. Happiness mattered. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he was allowed to have some too. The decorating continued in fits and starts, punctuated by laughter, spilled cocoa, and one near disaster involving a rogue ornament and Rachel's elbow. By the time they finished, the tree looked, well, unique. Heavy on the bottom, sparse on top, glitter everywhere. It's perfect, Renee declared, her voice full of pride. Sam smiled, ruffling her hair. Perfect, he agreed, though he wasn't sure if he meant the tree or the moment. Emily gathered her things as the evening wound down, her laughter lingering like a melody Sam didn't want to forget. Thanks for letting us invade your space, she said at the door, her eyes warm. Anytime, Sam replied, meaning it more than he could admit. As the door closed behind her, Sam stood in the glow of the tree lights. Renee curled against his side, whispering, Daddy, can Rachel come back tomorrow? Sam kissed the top of her head, his heart full and uncertain all at once. We'll see, kiddo. But deep down, he already knew the answer. Chapter 5. Ghosts of Christmas Past. The cemetery was quiet, blanketed in a thin layer of snow that muffled the world into stillness. Sam Richards stood at the edge of the path, his breath fogging in the cold air, a small wreath clutched in his gloved hands. He hated coming here, not because he didn't want to, he needed to, but because every visit felt like reopening a wound that never truly healed. The headstone was simple, just as she'd wanted. Anna Richards, beloved wife, devoted mother. Sam traced the letters with his eyes, his throat tightening. Hey, he murmured, his voice barely more than a whisper. It's been a while. He crouched, setting the wreath against the stone. Red ribbon, pine cones, a sprig of holly. Renee had helped pick it out, insisting mommy needed something pretty for Christmas. Sam swallowed hard, blinking against the sting in his eyes. She's getting so big, Anna. You'd be proud. He told her about Renee's birthday party, about the way she laughed when the balloons tangled in the wind, about how she'd made a new friend, Rachel, and how her smile had been brighter than he'd seen in months. And then, because he couldn't stop himself, he told her about Emily. She was at the park, he said softly, his breath catching. Emily Carter. Remember her? High school sweetheart. The words felt strange, like confessing a secret to someone who couldn't answer. She's different now. Strong, funny, kind. The girls adore each other. He paused, staring at the snow-dusted stone. I don't know what this means. I don't even know if I'm allowed to feel anything. The silence stretched, heavy and familiar. Sam closed his eyes, letting the cold bite his cheeks. I loved you, Anna. I still do. But I'm so tired of feeling empty. A tear slipped free, hot against his skin despite the chill. He brushed it away quickly, glancing around to make sure no one saw. Except someone did. Sam! He turned sharply, heart lurching. Emily stood a few feet away, bundled in a navy coat, her breath visible in the frosty air. Rachel was with her, holding a tiny bouquet of winter flowers. Sam started, words tangling in his throat. Emily's expression softened as she stepped closer. I didn't mean to intrude. We were visiting my grandparents' plot. Rachel wanted to bring flowers. Sam nodded, his pulse thudding. It's okay. I was just... He gestured vaguely toward the headstone. Emily's gaze flicked to the name, then back to him, her eyes warm with understanding. She was beautiful, she said gently. Sam swallowed hard. She was everything. For a moment, they stood in silence, the snow falling like whispers around them. Then Emily crouched beside Rachel, helping her place the flowers on the neighboring grave. When she straightened, her eyes met Sam's again. Steady, kind, unflinching. You don't have to explain, she said softly. Grief doesn't have an expiration date. Sam felt something loosen in his chest, a knot he hadn't realized he'd been carrying. I keep wondering if moving forward means forgetting. Emily shook her head, her voice firm but gentle. It doesn't. It means you're still living. And that's what she'd want for you. Sam stared at her, the truth of her words sinking deep. For the first time in years, he felt like someone understood. Not just the pain, but the fear, the guilt, the fragile hope. Thank you, he said quietly. Emily smiled, a small, tender curve of her lips. Anytime. They walked back to the parking lot together, the girls skipping ahead, their laughter ringing through the cold air like bells. And as Sam watched Renee and Rachel twirl in the snow, he realized something he hadn't dared admit until now. Maybe second chances weren't about replacing what was lost. Maybe they were about finding light in the darkness and letting it guide you home. Chapter 6. Snowball Wars and Warm Cocoa. The first real snow of the season had fallen overnight, turning the town into a postcard. Sam Richards stood at the edge of the sledding hill, boots crunching in the powder, watching Renee struggle to drag her bright red sled up the incline. Daddy, it's heavy, she called, puffing out her cheeks in dramatic protest. Sam grinned, trudging over to help. That's because you packed half the snow on it, kiddo. He brushed off the sled and gave her a wink. Ready for round 2? Renee nodded fiercely, curls bouncing under her pom-pom hat. I'm gonna go faster than last time. Not if Rachel beats you. Emily's voice floated up the hill, warm and teasing. Sam turned to see her climbing toward them, cheeks flushed, snowflakes clinging to her hair like tiny stars. Rachel was right behind her, dragging a purple sled with the determination of a tiny Olympian. Sam's pulse did that annoying skip again, the one he kept pretending was just cold air and not the sight of Emily smiling at him like that. Race? Emily asked, arching a brow. Sam chuckled. You're on. Minutes later, the hill erupted into chaos. Renee and Rachel launched themselves down the slope with squeals of delight, their sleds carving twin paths through the snow. Sam followed, laughing as icy wind slapped his face, while Emily's laughter rang out behind him like bells. They crashed at the bottom in a heap of snow and tangled limbs, the girls shrieking with glee. Sam sat up, brushing snow from his coat, grinning like a fool. Okay, Emily said, breathless and laughing as she flopped onto the snow beside him. I think I forgot how much fun this is. Sam glanced at her, his chest tightening in that way he was starting to recognize all too well. You're a natural. Emily rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered. Sure, if natural means falling off halfway down. Before Sam could reply, a snowball smacked him square in the shoulder. He turned to see Renee grinning wickedly, another snowball already in hand. Oh, it's war now, Sam declared, scooping up a handful of snow. Within seconds, the hill became a battlefield. Snowballs flew in every direction, laughter echoing across the frosty air. Sam nailed Emily once, lightly of course, and she retaliated with surprising accuracy, hitting him square in the chest. Truce, Sam called, laughing so hard his sides ached. Emily grinned, cheeks pink, eyes sparkling. Only if you admit defeat. Never, Sam said, but his voice was warm, teasing. By the time they called it quits, everyone was soaked and breathless. They trudged back to Sam's truck, the girls chattering about who had the best aim. Spoiler. Rachel claimed victory. Back at Sam's house, the scent of cocoa filled the kitchen as he stirred a pot on the stove. Emily perched on a stool, watching him with a smile that made the room feel brighter than the Christmas lights twinkling in the window. "You're good at this," she said, nodding toward the mugs he lined up. "Single dad survival skills," Sam replied, handing her a steaming cup. Their fingers brushed, and for a moment, neither moved. Emily's gaze held his, steady and soft. "You're doing a great job, Sam." The words hit deeper than he expected. He swallowed hard, his throat tight. "Thanks, that means a lot." They sat at the table, the girls giggling over marshmallow mustaches, and Sam felt something settle in his chest, a quiet warmth, fragile but real. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving. He was living, and maybe, just maybe, he was ready to believe in second chances. Chapter 7. The Gift of Trust. Sam Richards had never been good at shopping. Grocery stores? Fine. Hardware stores? No problem. But Christmas shopping? That was a battlefield he'd never mastered. He stood in the toy aisle, staring at a wall of dolls that all looked vaguely the same, wondering if Renee really needed another one when she already had an army at home. "Daddy, this one." Renee's voice rang out as she pointed to a glittery box featuring a doll with hair that looked like a rainbow exploded. Sam chuckled. "You sure? Looks like she needs her own zip code." "She's perfect," Renee declared, hugging the box like it was a long-lost friend. Sam sighed, tossing it into the cart. "Perfect it is." They were halfway to the checkout when his phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Coffee later? Need to talk." Sam's stomach tightened. Need to talk. Those words could mean anything, and usually not something light. The cafe was warm, filled with the scent of cinnamon and the hum of holiday chatter. Emily sat at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a mug, her expression thoughtful. Sam slid into the seat across from her, trying to read her face. "Everything okay?" Emily nodded, but her smile was faint. "Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you." Sam blinked. "For what?" "For being there," Emily said softly. "For letting the girls spend time together. For making things feel normal." Sam's chest tightened. "You don't have to thank me for that." Emily's gaze dropped to her mug. "I know. It's just hard sometimes. After he left, I kept wondering if I was enough. For them. For me." Sam swallowed hard, his throat thick. "Emily, you're more than enough." Her eyes lifted, meeting his, and for a moment, the world narrowed to that steady, vulnerable look. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Scared of trusting someone again. Scared of getting hurt. And I see you, Sam. I see how much you love Renee, how careful you are, and I wonder if maybe I could trust that." Sam's breath caught. He wanted to reach across the table, to take her hand, to tell her everything he'd been holding back. But the words tangled in his chest, heavy with guilt and hope. "I'm scared too," he said finally. "Scared of moving forward. Scared it means leaving Anna behind. But when I'm with you, it feels like maybe I can breathe again." Emily's eyes shimmered, and for a heartbeat, Sam thought she might cry. Instead, she smiled. A small, brave smile that made his heart ache. "Then maybe," she said softly, "we take it slow, one step at a time." Sam nodded, his pulse steadying. One step at a time. Later that night, as Renee and Rachel whispered in the living room, plotting something with crayons and construction paper, Sam overheard a snippet. "It's gonna be the best Christmas surprise ever." He smiled, leaning against the doorway, watching their heads bent together in secret. For the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel like a season to endure. It felt like a promise. Promise of trust, of hope, of something new. Chapter 8. Under the mistletoe, Sam Richards had never seen his parents' house look so festive. Every surface seemed to sparkle, garlands draped over the banister, candles flickering on the mantel, and a towering Christmas tree that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Renee darted through the living room in her red velvet dress, giggling as she chased Rachel, who wore a matching green one. Their laughter mingled with the hum of carols playing softly in the background, and for the first time in years, Sam felt something close to peace. Emily stood near the fireplace, chatting with his mother, her smile warm and easy. Sam couldn't help watching her. How the glow of the lights softened her features, how her laughter seemed to fill the room like music. He told himself to focus on the party, on the family, on anything but the way his heart kept tugging toward her. "Daddy!" Renee barreled into him, clutching a cookie like a prize. "Rachel says Santa's coming tonight." Sam crouched, brushing a crumb from her cheek. "He sure is, kiddo. Better get to bed early." Renee nodded solemnly, then dashed off again, leaving Sam standing in the middle of the room with a smile he couldn't quite contain. "Looks like they're having fun," Emily said, appearing at his side. Sam turned, his pulse skipping. "Yeah, they've been inseparable since the park." Emily laughed softly. "It's good for them. Good for us too." Sam swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling deep. Yeah, he said quietly. It is. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, watching the girls twirl near the tree. Then Emily glanced up, her eyes catching on something above them. Sam followed her gaze and froze. Mistletoe, dangling from the archway like a mischievous little dare. Emily's cheeks flushed pink, and Sam felt his breath hitch. The room seemed to shrink, the laughter and music fading into a distant hum. You know the rule, Emily said, her voice light but trembling at the edges. Sam's heart pounded. He could walk away, make a joke, pretend he didn't see it, but every instinct screamed that this was the moment, the one he'd been circling for weeks, maybe years. Slowly, he reached out, his fingers brushing hers. Her breath caught, and Sam felt the world tilt as he leaned in, closing the space between them. The kiss was soft, tentative, like testing the waters of something fragile and precious. But when Emily's hand slid to his arm, when her lips curved into the faintest smile against his, Sam knew this wasn't just a kiss. It was a promise that maybe, just maybe, second chances were real. When they pulled back, both breathless, Emily laughed. A quiet, shaky sound that made Sam's chest ache in the best way. "Merry Christmas, Sam," she whispered. "Merry Christmas, Emily," he replied, his voice low, steady, full of something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Chapter 9. The X returns. Christmas morning had been perfect. Renee and Rachel tore through wrapping paper like tiny tornadoes, squealing over dolls, puzzles, and glittery art kits. Sam and Emily shared quiet smiles across mugs of coffee, the kind of smiles that spoke of something new and fragile blooming between them. For the first time in years, Sam felt like the world had tilted back into balance. Until Emily's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and Sam saw the color drain from her face. Her hand trembled as she set the phone down, the cheerful hum of carols suddenly feeling too loud. "Emily?" Sam asked, his voice low, careful. "Everything okay?" She swallowed hard, her eyes fixed on the table. "It's him." Sam didn't need to ask who. The knot in his stomach told him before she said the words. "Mark," she whispered. "He texted. He wants to see the girls." Sam's jaw tightened. The man who had vanished without a word, who had left Emily to pick up the pieces, now wanted back in? On Christmas morning? "What did he say?" Sam asked, forcing his voice to stay calm. Emily handed him the phone. The message was short, almost casual. "I'm in town. I want to see Bella and Rachel. Today." Sam stared at the words, anger simmering beneath his ribs. 2 years of silence, and now this? He looked up, meeting Emily's eyes wide, uncertain, shimmering with fear. "What are you going to do?" he asked gently. Emily shook her head, her breath shaky. "I don't know. Part of me wants to tell him to stay away, but he's their father, Sam. What if they need him?" Sam's chest ached. He wanted to tell her the truth, that those girls didn't need a man who walked away, that they already had someone who cared, someone who showed up. But he bit back the words. This wasn't about him. It was about Emily, about her heart, about the girls. "Do you want me to be here?" he asked instead. Emily's gaze lifted, and for a moment, he saw the storm behind her eyes, the fear, the anger, the exhaustion, and beneath it all, something else. Trust. "Yes," she whispered. "Please." Mark showed up an hour later, all charm and cologne, like he hadn't detonated their lives 2 years ago. Sam stood near the doorway, every muscle taut, as Emily opened the door. "Emily," Mark said, flashing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You look great." Emily's jaw tightened. "Mark." The girls peeked around the corner, their laughter fading into silence. Rachel's eyes widened, confusion flickering across her face. Bella clutched her sister's hand like a lifeline. "Daddy," Rachel whispered, the word fragile, uncertain. Sam's heart cracked. He wanted to scoop her up, shield her from the mess this man had made. But he stayed still, watching as Emily knelt, her voice gentle. "Girls," she said softly. "This is your dad." Mark crouched, arms open, like he expected them to run into his embrace. They didn't. Rachel hesitated, then stepped forward slowly, her little face a mix of hope and hurt. Bella hung back, her eyes wary. Sam felt Emily's hand brush his arm. A fleeting touch, but enough to steady him. Enough to remind him why he was here. The visit was short, awkward. Mark tried to make small talk, tried to act like nothing had happened. But the girls were quiet, their smiles forced. When he finally left, promising to be around, Emily closed the door and leaned against it, her shoulders sagging. Sam waited, giving her space. When she turned, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I hate that he can still do this," she whispered. "Just show up and turn everything upside down." Sam stepped closer, his voice low, steady. "You're not alone in this, Emily. Not anymore." Her breath hitched, and for a moment he thought she might break. Instead, she nodded, a single tear slipping free. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being here." Sam reached out, brushing the tear from her cheek with a touch so gentle it felt like a vow. "Always." And as the girls curled up on the couch, leaning against each other for comfort, Sam knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going anywhere. Chapter 10. Christmas Morning Magic. The house was quiet in that rare, golden way that only happens before dawn on Christmas morning. Sam Richards stood in the kitchen, the glow of the tree spilling softly into the room, a mug of coffee warming his hands. He should have been exhausted, after the whirlwind of Christmas Eve, after the tension of Mark's unexpected visit, but instead he felt steady, like something inside him had clicked into place. Footsteps padded down the hall, followed by a whisper and a giggle. Sam smiled as Renee and Rachel appeared, still in their pajamas, clutching a box wrapped in shimmering paper. "Daddy," Renee whispered loudly, which defeated the purpose entirely. "We made something." Sam crouched, his heart already melting. "You did? For me? For you and Miss Emily?" Rachel added, her grin wide and proud. Sam glanced toward the living room, where Emily was just coming in, her hair tousled, her smile sleepy but warm. "Looks like we've got an early present," he said softly. The girls set the box on the coffee table with great ceremony. "Open it," Renee urged, bouncing on her toes. Sam and Emily exchanged a glance, one of those quiet, wordless looks that said more than words ever could, then knelt together to peel back the paper. Inside was a handmade ornament, crafted from glitter, glue, and pure determination. A round wooden disc painted in bright colors, with 5 names carefully written in wobbly letters. Sam, Emily, Renee, Bella, Rachel. Sam stared at it, his throat tightening. Emily's breath hitched beside him, her fingers brushing the edge of the ornament like it was something sacred. "You girls," Emily began, her voice trembling. "This is beautiful. It means we're all a family now," Renee announced proudly, her curls bouncing as she hugged Rachel. Sam swallowed hard, blinking against the sting in his eyes. He looked at Emily, and in that moment, everything else fell away. The grief, the fear, the doubts. All that remained was this. 2 little girls who believed in magic, and a woman who had walked back into his life like a gift he never expected. Emily met his gaze, her eyes shimmering. "They're pretty amazing," she whispered. "Yeah," Sam said, his voice rough with emotion. "They are." He reached for her hand, and this time, there was no hesitation. Her fingers curled into his, warm and sure, and Sam felt something settle deep inside him. A quiet certainty that this was where he was meant to be. The girls squealed as Sam lifted the ornament and hung it on the tree, right in the center where the lights caught it and made it glow. And as they all stood there, laughing, hugging, hearts full, Sam realized something he'd been afraid to believe for so long. Christmas wasn't just about memories of what was lost. It was about the promise of what could be. And for the first time in years, that promise felt real. Chapter 11. A proposal of hope. The snow had started again, soft flakes drifting past the window like whispers of winter magic. Sam Richards stood in his living room, the glow of the Christmas tree casting warm light across the space where laughter had filled the air just hours ago. Renee was asleep upstairs, curled around her new rainbow-haired doll, and the house was quiet, except for the steady thrum of his heartbeat. Emily sat on the couch, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea, her expression thoughtful. The ornament the girls had made hung proudly on the tree, catching the light like a promise. Sam stared at it for a long moment before turning to her. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice low, careful. Emily looked up, her eyes soft but questioning. "About what?" Sam crossed the room, every step heavy with the weight of what he was about to say. He sat beside her, close enough to feel the warmth of her presence, but not so close that it felt rushed. This wasn't about rushing. It was about honesty, about courage. "About us," he said quietly. "About what this could be." Emily's breath hitched, and Sam saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, the same fear that had haunted him for years. Fear of moving forward, fear of breaking something fragile, fear of hoping too much. "I don't want to pretend I have all the answers," Sam continued, his voice steady even as his chest tightened. "I don't. I'm still figuring out how to live without Anna, how to be the dad Renee needs. But these past few weeks, they've been different. You've been different." Emily swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around the mug. "Sam." He reached out, gently taking her hand, his thumb brushing against her knuckles. "You make me feel like I can breathe again, like maybe life isn't just about surviving anymore. And I don't want to lose that." Her eyes shimmered, and for a moment, Sam thought she might cry. Instead, she set the mug aside and turned fully toward him, her voice trembling. "I'm scared, Sam. Scared of trusting someone again. Scared of what happens if it all falls apart." "I know," he said softly. "I'm scared too. But maybe we don't have to do this alone anymore." He reached into his pocket. Not for a ring, not yet, but for something small and simple. A silver snowflake charm he'd picked up at the store earlier, on a whim that didn't feel like a whim anymore. He placed it in her palm, his voice low and earnest. "This isn't a proposal," he said, his lips curving into a faint smile. "Not yet. It's a promise. Promise that I'm here, that I'm not going anywhere, that if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'll spend every day proving it was worth it." Emily stared at the charm, her breath shaky, her fingers curling around it like it was something precious. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with something Sam hadn't seen before. Not fear, not doubt, but hope. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking on the word. I want that. Sam exhaled, a laugh escaping him. Soft, disbelieving, full of relief. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. And maybe he had. Outside, the snow kept falling, blanketing the world in quiet magic. Inside, two hearts began to heal, not by forgetting the past, but by building something new, something strong, something full of promise. And as Sam kissed her, slow, tender, certain, he knew this wasn't just a second chance. It was the start of forever. Chapter 12. New year, new chapter. The clock on the mantel ticked toward midnight, its steady rhythm underscored by the soft hum of laughter and music. Sam Richards stood in his parents' living room, watching Renee and Rachel twirl in their sparkly dresses, their giggles mingling with the faint strains of Auld Lang Syne, playing from the stereo. Emily was across the room, helping Bella adjust her headband, her smile warm and easy. Sam couldn't take his eyes off her, not because of the way the silver dress shimmered under the lights, but because of the way she looked at the girls, like they were her whole world, like family. And maybe Sam thought they were becoming just that. He crossed the room, weaving through clusters of relatives chatting over plates of hors d'oeuvres. Emily looked up as he approached, her eyes catching his in that way that made everything else fade. Hey, she said softly, her voice carrying a smile. Hey, Sam replied, his heart doing that familiar skip. You look amazing. Emily laughed, a quiet, breathless sound. You're not so bad yourself. Sam grinned, tugging at his tie like it was suddenly too tight. The girls are having the time of their lives. They are, Emily agreed, glancing toward the makeshift dance floor where Renee and Rachel were spinning like tiny ballerinas. I think this might be their best holiday yet. Sam's chest tightened, not with grief this time, but with something brighter, hope, possibility, the sense that maybe, just maybe, they were building something that could last. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8, and the room filled with voices, laughter, anticipation. Sam felt Emily's hand brush his, and without thinking, he laced his fingers through hers. She didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed gently, her eyes meeting his with a look that said everything words couldn't. 3, 2, 1. The room erupted in cheers as confetti flew and champagne corks popped. Sam turned to Emily, his heart pounding, and before he could second-guess himself, he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't tentative this time. It was sure, steady, full of promise. A kiss that spoke of everything they'd survived, and everything they were ready to embrace. When they pulled back, breathless and smiling, Emily laughed softly. Happy New Year, Sam. Happy New Year, he whispered, his thumb brushing her cheek. To new beginnings. Across the room, Renee and Rachel squealed, hugging each other like they'd invented joy. Sam watched them, his heart full, and knew this wasn't just a moment. It was the start of something real, something worth every risk. Chapter 13. Epilogue, Second Chances. The snow was falling again, just like it had a year ago, soft flakes drifting past the window of the cozy kitchen where Sam Richards stood, stirring a pot of cocoa. The scent of cinnamon and chocolate filled the air, mingling with the sound of laughter from the living room. He glanced over his shoulder and smiled. Emily was on the couch, her legs tucked under a blanket, helping Bella with a puzzle while Rachel and Renee built a tower of blocks that looked destined for collapse. The Christmas tree glowed in the corner, its branches heavy with ornaments, including the one that started it all. The handmade disc with 5 names, now slightly faded but still perfect, hung front and center. Sam's chest tightened, not with grief, but with gratitude. A year ago, he'd stood in the same room wondering if second chances were real. Now he didn't have to wonder. They were. He carried the tray of cocoa into the living room, setting it on the coffee table. Careful, he warned as the girls scrambled for mugs, marshmallows bobbing like tiny boats in a chocolate sea. Emily looked up, her smile soft and steady, the kind of smile that had become home to him. You're spoiling them, she teased, though her eyes were warm. Sam grinned, settling beside her. Spoiling you too. Her laugh was quiet, full of the kind of happiness that had taken time to bloom. I'm not complaining. He reached for her hand, lacing his fingers through hers, and for a moment, the noise of the room faded. He thought about everything they'd weathered, the grief, the fear, the doubts, and how they'd built something stronger in the spaces between. Hard to believe it's been a year, Emily murmured, her gaze drifting to the tree. Best year of my life, Sam said honestly. Emily's eyes shimmered, and when she leaned in to kiss him, it wasn't tentative or uncertain. It was sure, solid, full of love. The girls squealed as the block tower toppled, laughter ringing through the room like bells. Sam pulled Emily closer, his heart full, and knew this wasn't just a second chance. It was a new chapter, a new life, family. Outside, the snow kept falling, blanketing the world in quiet magic. Inside, Warmth and laughter filled every corner. And as Sam watched Renee and Rachel dance around the tree, their voices bright with joy, he whispered a silent thank you to Anna, to fate, to the fragile hope that had led him here. Because second chances weren't just real. They were everything.